Hey guys, Shido here with the 5th and final installment of my first impressions of the 2015 spring season. I have 4 more shows to cover, and before I start, I want to make mention of the 4 shows that I won't be covering in this series simply because they just won't air in time. Those shows are the new Lupin the Third and the new Digimon Adventure Tri, simply because there is no air date as of yet. And the next shows are the new season of the Grisaya series, and Yamada-kun to Nananin no Maho. These 2 shows just didn't air in the time frame of me recording this particular series. Now in part 4, I covered Rumiko Takahashi's Kyokai no Rene, the newest season of Gintama, one of the absolute worst shows I've seen in quite a while, in Triage X, an interesting action show called Kekai Sensen, and a beautiful and fun romantic comedy in Ore Monogatare. If any of these shows interest you, please check out part 4. Now to start part 5, I check out Houkago no Playa Des, or as it should be called, a blatant Subaru car commercial with magical girls. Actually, all jokes aside, it's actually not that obvious. Despite the fact that Gainax partnered with the automaker Subaru, it's not overly obvious. Our main character is named Subaru. She's a girl who likes astronomy. She meets a weird alien-like creature who helps her discover a magically sealed classroom, where she comes across a childhood friend and several other girls in witch outfits. The creature is known as a Pleiaden, gives her some weird broom-looking thing that makes car noises, and carries her into the air and then transforms her into a witch also. The group of girls come under attack by a fragment of the Pleiaden's space engine. They are trying to gather the fragments so the Pleiaden can return home. It's actually a pretty harmless magical girl show. The characters have different personalities, and while the concept is kinda stupid, it's not terrible at least. Not from the first episode anyway. The animation is pretty good, and even though it has some of that terrible CGI that I hate, it's not a huge part of it, and thus it doesn't really hurt the show. I'm honestly not expecting much from this show, but I'll at least give it a second episode. The next show is Mikagurugakuen Kumikyoku, or Mikagura School Suite, as it'll be known here in North America. The anime is based off a light novel series written by Last Note. The novels were inspired by songs also written by Last Note, and the songs were used by the Vocaloids. The series follows Aruna Ichinomiya, a girl who dreamed of school life full of cuteness. She enters Mikagura Private School, a school where each of the Culture Club representatives have to battle each other with unique powers. I wasn't sure what to expect from this series, but I kind of enjoyed it. The animation is good, coming from Dogakobo Studio. I'm starting to expect it from them, which is a good sign that the studio is doing a good job. It's a cute, fun little show with a cute, interesting main character. Now the show is supposed to be like a school battle type show, but there wasn't really that much of that in the first episode, so it'll be interesting to see how it's played out. Either way, I'm intrigued and want to see the next episode. And next is a fantasy show called Ido Tomba, a comedy about Nyaya-tan, the cat of the Chinese astrology who wants to become a member of the Chinese zodiac. Nyaya-tan is a simpleton and often suffers from memory loss, and does a lot of stupid things to try and become a member of the zodiac. She meets a high school student living alone in Akihabara, and becomes a freeloader at his house. It's a cute show, I guess, with pretty animations. Nyaya-tan talks in a cute way, saying nya or meow after everything she says just about. But then later on it turns into some terrible super deformed CG battle like Show by Rock. I didn't really enjoy this show. It could barely hold my attention, and the terrible CG was distracting. It's also supposed to be a comedy that just wasn't funny. It's yet another show I won't be watching, and I will most likely not even give it a second episode. And the final show is a new show from Mappa Studios called Punchline, a show that follows Yuta Iradatsu, a high school student with a weird habit. Whenever he sees a girl's panties, He seems to transform and gain some sort of superpower, and then he seems to faint as well. His body gets possessed by a spirit, and he's approached by a ghost cat who explains what happens and tells him how to get his body back. To do it, he has to avoid seeing any more panties, because if he gets too excited, it can cause his powers to go out of control and cause an asteroid to hit the Earth and destroy humanity, if any of that makes any friggin' sense. I know it doesn't to me. The show is as stupid as it sounds, and I expected so much more from Mappa Studio, the same studio that gave us shows like Garo and Shingeki no Bahamut. But this show is just crazy, and not in the fun, comical way. I'm sure it's intended to be, but it's not, at least not with the first episode. In all honesty, I'm not sure if I'll give it a second episode, but at least it's not the worst show of the season. And that's going to be it for my first impressions of the Spring 2015 anime season. There's a lot of good stuff this season. From a bunch of great sequels, such as the new Fate Stay Night and My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu, to a bunch of new shows with potential, like Plastic Memories and Shokugeki no Soma and Ori Monogatare. I very much look forward to seeing how this season plays out. And as always, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll be back to list my top 5 shows at the end of the season. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.